Microphone check 1 2 1 2. Microphone check 1 2 1 2. Alright, sound looks good. I may as well tweet this one out. Not sure anyone's going to arrive, but we shall see what happens as Christmas approaches. Now, how do I share this? I think I got it this way. What do we got? God, got like cords everywhere. Shooting for nothing. This is going to be a show about nothing. Although, I am going to have some. Where is it? I'm going to see where I'm at. I'll see if anyone rocks up. If anyone rocks up, I'll actually cover the FTX stuff. But in the meantime, I'm losing track of my stuff. Alright, cool. So we all know what crypto's doing. It's not doing the best, yeah? We're in a bear market and things aren't looking too good because, you know, everything's down. Now, do we really want to go into the causes of that? Or, hang on, what's going on? Just lost all my stuff, man. Thought I would try and create a show about nothing. You know, Seinfeld? And it's literally a show about nothing. This stream might be similar to that. I thought I'd jump on and hopefully, I'm hoping one day I'll jump on and I'll see this website here and basically there'll be like the cure for time travel, or time travel will be solved or something cool, you know? Nothing though. I don't think we've progressed too far in physics for a while. Like, I'm waiting for some, like I said, some time travel stuff. That would be cool as hell. Life extension, yeah. Time travel, yeah. The ability to travel interstellar would also be pretty damn cool. What do we got? They got some pretty cool tech stuff on here. You've got an electric powerboat. Travels above water. That reminds me of how the some of the speed yachts were designed, where they had this like little anchor shape at the bottom. It allowed it to go even faster. So we got drowning out the sound of drones. Autonomous package deliveries may not reduce emissions. Lol. That's surprising because I would have thought that'd be electric, you know. But anyway, seeing the self-driverless trucks be rolled out and the autonomous vehicles being rolled out, I can see where this is all going. Especially with the what's it called? Even like Uber Eats, I'm pretty sure it's going to be autonomous at some stage. The one thing that'll be interesting will be whether or not how they'll actually do it, because you're trusting what people, like no one else is going to steal the food, or what if it's in a difficult spot, you got to trust the AI to get there. Who knows, you know? Interesting stuff to talk about. New device purifies water with static. Like, that's pretty damn cool. Tiny robot uses electrical field. What? Tiny robot hand uses electrified wires as sensors to help grow. What? That's crazy. 2 share chemistry Nobel Prize for new ways to make. Okay, that's pretty interesting stuff, right? But I'm not seeing any time travel because why? I don't know why. So the next thing, I guess, is this here. This was pretty cool. If people say it's not possible to be 100% renewable, right? Well, here in South Australia, we actually almost did it. Almost, mind you. We're kind of a small country town, but we did have help from Elon Musk, that is. And what's happening, bro? I thought I would make a stream about nothing. I was going over some. I go on this website, Inside Science. I'm still waiting for our time travel. You know, someone to be like, "Oh, we solved time travel," or we solved like some cool shit. But there's some cool stuff there, but not as cool as, you know, I'd like it to be. But we will have a look at. Oh, look at this stuff. It's like bacterial enzyme that copies DNA might make more mistake in zero gravity. What? I mean, yeah. We know that we can't produce in outer space because we need gravity. Without gravity, we sort of turn into these weird blobs or something. It's kind of trippy. But back to this. So here in South Australia, we ran on 104% renewables last week, as of December 19. So it's very, very current. Basically, we have 100% renewable power within striking distance of being the first jurisdiction in the world to get there. And I reckon we might do it. But we do have, it is summer, and you know, so the sun helps with the batteries, and there's we have mass uptake of solar panels on the roof. Lots of people comparatively to the rest of the world with batteries, things like that, you know, so that's pretty good. But I was surprised to read here that we have no coal-fired power plants was needed, and the gas met 6% of the state's demand. So we actually were pretty damn efficient when it comes to, you know, using power. So I find that stuff pretty interesting. 5 years after, so about 5 years ago now is when Tesla big battery at Hornsdale was built. So we got this big ass, I think maybe the biggest in the southern hemisphere, Tesla battery. Shout out to Elon for that. Yeah, some cool stuff, very cool stuff. That seems to have, you know, paid off over time. Now, that being said, I'm hoping there's not too many hexagons in California, because it looks like, unless you've got some backup power, you may not be able to watch the stream or access the internet, depending on where you are. We've got magnitude earthquake, you know, 6.4. It's pretty big. I don't know much about earthquakes. Power outages in San Francisco and homes, a mess after notable tremors. But yeah, so it looks like this area was hit pretty hard. Wow. 55,000 people without electricity. Now, I'm not sure what the weather's like down there, because I know it is winter, and I'm hearing some pretty bad things when it comes to the price of power. Price of power could be going up in the US as early as December 22nd. Now, again, maybe I'll cover that a little bit more, maybe not, I don't know. We'll see. But what is happening, Tinto? Thank you. I was just talking about the earthquake. It's pretty messed up. I'm hoping there's not too many hexagons out there. But yeah, I'm hoping they got some backup power. Hopefully they can access the internet. Hopefully, you know, pulse chain developers aren't like working over there or something like that. Or, you know, large nodes for networks are being built there or something insane like that, because that would suck. I'm hopefully there's some contingency plans if that was the case. But yeah, this is going to be a stream about nothing, because I haven't got too much to talk about, because we've seen the prices across the board are just pretty much down. I'll cover the FTX stuff when I got you guys here though. Where is it? So this too, I guess. Pain is only bearable if we know it will end, not if we deny it exists. So we're in a bear market, and the price is very, very low. And I'm not going to pretend that I'm happy not going to pretend that it doesn't exist. Not going to pretend that, you know, it's all wonderful that we're in a bear market, because it sucks. For me, it sucks so bad. But what I will cover is, I won't share the screen because this is not my work. I won't take copy. What's the word? Won't take credit for it. But basically, covering the FTX stuff. If you have a think about it and can elaborate it out loud, vocally, then like this person did, Jim Rickards, it's pretty damn interesting when he explains it. And as soon as he said it, I'm like, oh my god, he's right. He's so right. So think about the, I don't know, Jeffrey Epstein list, you know, all that, whatever happened there. What happened to that list? I haven't seen it. Anyone seen it? No. Anyway, who cares about that, right? But here we go. This is the news before it's news, right? If you think about, you know, everyone's covering like all the everything crashing around us, and oh, it's like the hottest thing going on. It's all the buzz, it's all the craze, all the media's all over it, right? What about when the buzz is over? It's not fun anymore. No one's talking about it, no one cares. Something else has come along. What if you have this? Oh, there's no one here. Alright, I'll hang off. I'll wait till someone's here. If no one's here, I'll hold on off on that. Alright, so back to nothing. So we've got here Froggy's plan. Oh, that's trippy as hell, man. My thing's showing there's no one here. Alright, I'll read it. I'll go back. Where was I? Alright, so so when he got locked up, right, it was maybe it made sure that he would never give any testimony, because he was scheduled, Sam SBF was scheduled to testify under oath to the US House Investigatory Committee on Tuesday, December 13th, right? So he got arrested December 12th. Okay, so that's pretty convenient, because the testimony would have been highly embarrassing to the Democrats, I would imagine. What else? So not just that. Now, everyone's probably already covered that. But we see... Imagine, right, he gets arrested, and then was a way to lock him up and make sure he never gives any testimony, right? At that particular hearing. Also, at trial, he'll probably take the fifth, you know, because US based, or just plead guilty and skip most of the trial. And just like that, cover up has been accomplished. So if there was ever anything that was going on that can be pulled out in trial, well, it's not going to be making the mainstream news, is it? But as soon as I read that, I'm like, oh my god. So all of this, everything that could have been going on, is going to be what? Swept under the rug. Conveniently. We'll read it a bit more. Again, was he a mastermind, or was he just like some fraudster? I mean, so I'm reading it's more, you know, leaning on towards just a fraudster, you know. It's my political opinion, and there's nothing really all that sophisticated about that. But yeah, basically, he's been shut up. He's been silenced, you know, and that's probably what's going to happen, and we'll probably see that happen. But something else is probably going to happen in the meantime. So yeah, I'll continue on now. Back to this. So this is the next thing that's concerning me about in the crypto space. Again, the stream about nothing, not legal advice or financial, tax, whatever jurisdiction, whatever. Political thought, political freedom of speech here. So why Tether and stable? I've got this here. Why Tether and stable USDT have become a big crypto worry. So this is other things that I'm reading. That Tether could have some issues. It might not. I mean, it might be fine. But I mean, this is more like, this is ultimate FUD. We're already in like FUD city, and prices aren't looking good. Although they're sort of just bottomed out and they're just floating around the bottom. Now, in relation to Tether and why that could mess up the even more messed up economy, oh my god. Let's have a look. Now, we all know what Tether is, blah, 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 how it's supposed to be run. Now, this is the concerning part. What's known and what's not known. Therein lies the problem. If there is issues with their finance, not saying there is. What's happening, Sweaty? Hey, yo. Yeah. You missed it, man. I was just saying, I could repeat it. I'll repeat it. Because I thought that basically this stream is about nothing, but this FTX thing is pretty damn interesting as I read it. You know, all the SBF stuff had a hearing on the 13th, got arrested December 12th, lo and behold. Was probably going to be embarrassing for the politicians in the Democratic Party. So now he's been arrested, and basically what will happen if people don't get sick of the story or sick of, you know, all the hype around crypto and why it's failing, and if nothing else happens beyond that pops up and wrecks the economy even more. Basically, when I read this, it said, you know, he might just get locked up. He might never give any testimony. He might plead the fifth, and he might, or he might plead guilty and then skip the trial. And then just like that, or everything that everyone's been reading about is just gonna be gone. Nothing to talk about. It's crazy. Thanks for the operation. Not sure what operation, but crypto itself is in uncharted territory. I'm waiting for. I haven't had a shave for like a long time. This is my beard, man. This is like, it's just it. I want to shave. I really want to shave. But I'm getting used to it. It's alright. But this is my when post chain thing. I can't remember. Someone on Twitter said it. Yeah, it's right. It'll just be buried in the cycle. Like something else will pop up and it'll be like, oh, what? Like what happened to, like I was saying before, no one's like, what happened to Epstein's list? What? I haven't seen it. No one's seen it. It's gone. It's like nothing suspicious about that. Nothing to see here. Move along, and then most likely the same thing is going to, like I said, happen with the SBF. And I didn't think of that, but when I read it, I'm like, oh my god, that is so correct. That is so accurate. It's so frustrating. Green, yeah, probably. They usually try and do that. Pull their old you know, the economy's doing good, so political games. I'm not going to cover too much politics, US politics especially. I covered a little bit of politics, kind of, here in South Australia. We actually ran, thanks to Elon Musk, 104% renewables last week. So we're very close to being a full-on, like, but it's summer and we got batteries and lots of people got panels. 6% gas, that was insane. That was pretty crazy. But what will probably happen though, you know how in the US they got that strategic oil reserve thing? Stuff I've been reading that could happen as soon as December 22nd, if I'm not kidding, is, I think basically, how do I put it, the price of energy will skyrocket beyond things you can imagine. Not to do with this as well, like, you know, there's an earthquake, and so you're affected by this and you're out of power, it's gonna suck. Imagine if that happened in the middle of winter, not because of the earthquake, maybe for something else. Maybe there's rolling blackouts. Remember in Texas, I think 2001, there was a huge freeze and there was no power and people can get to work. I think lots of people died from that. That could happen again because the oil, yeah, anyway. Strategic oil reserves have been drained. Politicians like Biden have been covering it up. Let's go, Brandon. He's been covering it up, and because he's been covering it up, it's been looking better, you know, and the price has been reduced. So you're paying X amount for gas and fuel or whatever it is over there in the US because these oil reserves have been let out. But then what happens when that ends and that scam ends? Your price, your petrol and fuel and energy is going to skyrocket. There's going to be supply chain issues. There's going to be all sorts of shit. I'm pretty sure the Keystone Pipeline, like, just, I don't know what the deal is with that thing. Like, why they just, it's cheaper to send it down a pipeline than run it across train tracks. I don't know. Maybe someone's got some interest in train tracks. I don't know. That's a bit of a conspiracy there, but logically, it makes no sense why you wouldn't just use that damn thing. Under the previous administration, Trumpy, I'm pretty sure US was pumping out a lot more oil than they are now. And they weren't draining those strategic oil reserves. I'm pretty sure Australia has some oil held in those strategic oil reserves, which makes no sense to me, because if there's a war, how are we going to get the oil from there being held in US refineries and storage? It's kind of funny. But yeah, that's just some things that go through my mind. Now, that's the FTX stuff. That's going to happen. I guarantee that's going to happen. It's going to be buried. It's a bunch of crap, I think. I think it's right. It's very bad. This is the Tether FUD. Tether FUD, right? So, what's known about Tether's FUD? So this could be the next thing that pops. And if this thing pops, it's going to be like, it's going to absolutely dwarf FTX. I don't know what it's going to do to the prices of crypto, like the entire crypto market, because, you know, due to Hart's law and things like that. What if one thing that's a stable, is allowing people to trade, is just wiped off the map? It's gonna wreck everything. So wreck everything. Everything except, you know, this is where I'll pivot. Everything except real DeFi, where you're actually holding your own coins, tokens, NFTs, I guess. You know, you're actually holding them in your own wallet, not on an exchange. But if this thing pops, it's going to pop bad. The guy keeps warning of this one, and I'm surprised. But then again, hasn't got a favorable look on crypto, so that's where me and him differ in terms of opinion, in terms of analysis as well. I'm pretty sure he doesn't follow Hex at all. He may follow other things, like he's followed Bitcoin from its inception apparently, and also followed this Tether situation. So I don't know how real, if it's imminent or if it's nothing. Maybe they do have, you know, the backings required to, you know, 1-for-1. In which case there'll be no issue at all. But I've seen some pretty crazy yield, and it's all to do, a lot of it's with Tether. I'm not sure what's going on. I won't mention it here because it might, you know, rather not shine light on it. Now, switching gears from all of that wonderful news, which I tend to bring to everyone, we've got this. I'm like, this is not Armageddon stuff, it's just interesting. A supercomputer predicts more than a quarter of the species would die by the end of the century. Why can't I play with this supercomputer, man? What? What? Like, where does this supercomputer exist? This is crazy. I hope the supercomputer doesn't exist around California, and hopefully they got some backups in place just in case. You know, some contingency plannings, all that sort of stuff. Now, by then though, we'll be pretty far into our stake. Shit. Maybe I'll finally end the stake, 2,100. Finally, actually not roll it. Finally end it and cash out. But experts blamed. But the thing about this is though, so our current supercomputers can't handle predictions like this, I would say. I mean, they probably did predict this, but what was the data that was being put into these supercomputers? I've heard that if all of the supercomputers got together and tried to calculate every single variable in our supply chains, they could not handle it. And I've heard also, this is extremely logical. If you have some AI, some supercomputer that can forecast using data, it should be able to predict accurately in the future, right? As a scientific experiment. So if you can accurately predict like a particular thing in the future, I'm trying to think of the technical word, a particular not vector, a particular piece of information into the future. So say you're trying to predict the weather into the future, right? Is what things we have at the moment, and how accurate can we predict it, and how accurately can we predict it years into the future, you know, let alone decades, let alone centuries. But we're being told that this can happen. Now, if these supercomputers that can't handle these computations currently can't predict a future forecast accurately, then, oh my god, I lost track of it. If they can predict forward, they need to be able to predict backwards. So what I'm saying is, if a supercomputer, like beyond what we're capable of, could accurately predict the future, then it would also accurately be able to predict the past. So when I see this, that supercomputers predict that XYZ is going to happen, live on stream, my mind's changing, because our supercomputers will not be the same as they are in 2100. But yeah, so I reckon it'd be cool to see a supercomputer that, you know, could predict. I have a theory. So the theory is, if you can take into account every single possible factor in the world. So whether that be, you know, at this point in time, you have, you know, the planets moving and their forces. You have people within the planet. You have, if I move my hand this way and pick something up, versus taking it and throwing it over my back of my head, they're different potential timelines. So one would need to predict with accuracy every single thing. To be able to predict every single thing with accuracy, you would need to put into that computer every single possible variable you can even think of. Maybe some of them aren't even known yet. But if that were the case, you could use one specific item, whether that be a vector in time, a point in time, a point in space, and that would be relative to everything else in the entire universe. And that would allow one to predict things like, you know how I've heard the snowflake, every snowflake is different. So in theory, if every snowflake is different, one would be able to predict the shape of a snowflake and where it would occur and how it would occur, because you would understand every single force in the known universe, and that is what would allow you to predict the particular shape of a particular snowflake. And you would have to predict the point in time where it is and how it's dropping and where it came from. If a computer could predict that into the future, you could then use that same calculation, because you could test it. You could say, okay, what's working? It's predicted that this raindrop's going to appear here in this point in time. You could then use that same, supercomputer or whatever it is to run it back. So run the simulation backwards in time accurately, and you could figure out, you know, okay, so the snowflake before it existed, what existed before it, and where did it go? But like I said, you would have to understand forces that exist everywhere, and you'd have to understand the entire universe to understand those forces, because at the moment what we send satellites out, get frequencies and things like that, but we there's so much we need to understand, we don't. Yeah, I don't know how we're gonna do that, but that's my theory. I'm pretty sure it might be possible. But like I said, even if you had the supercomputers that could computate all of this, how are you going to enter the data into it if you don't know the data? If we're still theorizing about like how the universe works, whether it's like quantum entanglement, if like two particles are together, then one reacts with the other one inversely, like one is up, one is down, the rotation, the spin. It's mind-boggling. Now, how are you gonna, like this force on a planet we've never seen before, we don't even know exists? We would need to understand that force because that would affect what happens in this point in time, right here, right now. But yeah, that's why when I see, but I've been a bit of a spill there, but that's why when I see supercomputers predict, that's our current supercomputers. I've seen, pretty sure it's simulations on the universe, and they had like, how, what was it? So Nintendo, Sega Mega Drive, Super Nintendo, PlayStation, Nintendo 64, Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, 5, 6, and the Xboxes. And I remember watching the numbers. I'm like, why are they doubling? They're like going from like 1 to 4 to 8, 16, 32, the bit size. And they had basically a computer that was, I think, like the equivalent of, say, like, I don't know, 32 bit, and they ran the same data. And it took like ages for it to pull up, like, not spool, whatever the word is, load the data, calculate, computate, gave you a result, an answer, a picture, an image. They're like, hang on, wait. When we put it in this computer, it runs up a different answer, a different result. So it was a more high performance. It was like the 64 bit, and its answers were different because the computer was different. So the same details into the different computer gives you a different result. So when I see supercomputer of today, makes me wonder what data was entered into it, because I reckon I could make, if you give me enough data, enough statistics, I can create whatever story you want. I guarantee it. Guarantee. But yeah, anyway, off topic again. Stream about nothing. Nothing's happening. Crypto's down. Now, in theory, you could, if you're good enough, if you had a supercomputer, you could understand every single trade that is ever been done, and currently being done, and you could forecast maybe what's going to happen into the future. You could have a system that, it sounds insane, but you could have a system that everything hooked into it could pick up. And if it could pick up every single thing hooked into it, it would be able to tell what's going to happen. Because say you have a system that can pick up a cell, then obviously, well, if it picks up one cell on one particular point in time, it then knows there's a buy happening, like the opposite is happening, though. So that's saying for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction, or something like that. Now, if you were able to then harness that system, you could tell where everything is. So every dollar ever produced, ever, like printed, electronically created with this new system with the zero reserves, you could probably have a system that can track every single thing, so it knows where it's going. So I literally have, like, say you got like $5. I see, look, Australian money, man, looks like Monopoly money, right? It's got serial numbers and everything. See? Not sure if you can see that. There's a bit of delay. I'm looking at the old camera. Now, imagine being able to track this dollar note anywhere it went, and being able to tell if, for example, you deposited it into a machine and then it entered into the bank, and then that particular serial number would track then where it went into an account, and then that account is like a running ledger, and that running ledger tells you then where that $5 went, and that's specific to that particular $5. So that would be able to be, technically, if you had a system, you could trace that from its inception all the way back, and then maybe there'll be some weird areas if it like if it went into cash and never re-entered the system, or some like fringe gray areas like that, that's why I believe, probably, that's why there's this push for the cashless society, because if you can track and trace everything with a system like this, you could then start to use it for like controlling purposes, like, oh, we've tracked this, like the carbon credit tax or something. You can say, oh, your dollar produced this much carbon, we didn't want it. Now, that's insane, right? But it's probably within the means, within the realms of our capabilities, I'm guessing. Like, say you have a supercomputer that's, is being used for what? I remember I read somewhere this book and they had these supercomputers, old supercomputers, and basically what happened to them, to make sure that they didn't get into the hands of the wrong people, they put them in places like financial institutions, and they have them living there, and that's the infrastructure that's like part of the entire financial legacy system. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty insane when you think about that. Because like you don't want to just just chuck the supercomputer in the dump and someone picks it up. Yeah, this kind of interesting stuff when you think about it. Like when you see that F-35, it like fell off the aircraft carrier in the ocean somewhere. I bet money there's assholes that aren't from the country that it came from, scouring the ocean to try and recover it, to try and get the hidden technology or whatever. I bet money. There's probably also people. I don't know if they'd be monitoring it, if they'd be they're trying to recover it, or it could be the complete opposite. It could just be pure sheer incompetence. You know, who knows? But back to that comment. Green candles for election year. That would be what, 2024? I'm pretty sure. November 2024. So maybe that coincides with the Bitcoin halving, and with the 2024 bull market. The BTC hits all new time highs. Hex hits new time highs. All sorts of crazy shit. If we can survive extinction, which I think we will. But this tether thing is a bit concerning, I think. Now, but yeah, man, like when I hear supercomputer, yeah, like I said, if you have a supercomputer that good, I would be tweaking it because you can get better. I guarantee you can get better. And if you can get it that good, like I said, you might be able to even forecast the future. And if you can get it that good, you should be able to forecast the past, because yeah. But like I said, you need all the data. All the data. Things you haven't even thought about, you need the data for, and how you can do that. That's my curiosity. And why are we not working on that? Why are we working on masks and hand sanitizer? Like, what are we teaching? Like, I don't know. The one cool thing is we did have this, this is possible, renewables. Imagine if they rolled out some whatever that new technology they're working on. The one nuclear fusion or whatever. They reckon they can harness the power of the sun, recreate how the sun generates its power, which is clean. Which is curious, because how is the sun in the sky? How is it flying around? How is the earth flying around? Why can't we harness the same energy? But that's too simple. Now, we have here... Now this is freaking me out, like changing gears completely. Somehow, in this timeline, we ended up with SARS-CoV-2, which is called coronavirus. And, not SARS viruses that are like common colds and flus. Maybe not flus because they have different, like influenza A, influenza B and all that. We have, we had whatever it was, and people at the time didn't know what it was. So they panicked. They couldn't test for it. They didn't know if there was a treatment. They didn't know how bad it was. They panicked. So you remember that stampede in there was a stampede in South Korea around Halloween, and I think 8 people died. And I can envision, now call me crazy, but I can envision a system in place where there was a whole big group of people walking, and someone, this is what I'm saying. How would you put this information into a computer system to be able to predict what was happening? Maybe you got a phone, maybe you got phones and they can hear everything and track everything. Maybe, but they still can't. Maybe Neuralink might help, I don't know. But if you have a group of people walking and then someone, whether it was like someone they were being silly, that actually got scared, who knows what, like the various things that could have taken place, but that led to a chain reaction where everyone started panicking, and the sheer momentum of the crowd panicking then caused everyone to be funneled down I'm imagining like a big hallway, big roadway, and everyone's partying and then turned to panic. That's in essence what the whole planet did. We got told incompetence, yes. What's up, Finbear? Incompetence, yes. I always think back to a guy who's been a bunch of what did he say? But yeah, I'll repeat it for you, Finbear, because where is it? Basically, rewinding what I was saying. I'll come back to that train of thought. So with FTX and SBF, basically there was a Senate hearing. He was supposed to appear, and that was on December 13th. December 12th, he was arrested. And it appears that it would have been embarrassing for the Democrats. So again, conspiracy, or just saying. I'm just saying. And then also, this is the interesting part. So taking into account everything you've ever heard about this whole FTX thing, and all the donations and the money and the incompetence, and basically I read also it's borderline just fraudster versus like some mastermind playing 5D chess, just some fraudster. And to keep the fraudster quiet, they had to arrest him. They arrested the fraudster, and then what's going to happen? He's going to go to plead the fifth or plead guilty, both of which conveniently will cover up most of the story, because there won't be headlines, because also we might be bored about this particular FTX thing. Everyone might have moved on, something else might have happened. But yeah, imagine that. It's like, oh, this is the big news line, plead the fifth. This is the big news headline, plead guilty, and there's no trial. And so all the stuff that can be drawn out in discovery and trial, like, the wrongdoings of XYZ, allegedly, reportedly, whatever, will just disappear. It's like, that's pretty damn convenient. I'm like, oh my God. When I read that, this guy's a genius. How did you think of that? But yeah. Now, where was I? Those officials barely navigate the bureaucracy, let alone... Yeah, exactly. He's like, oh, there's a global conspiracy. It's like, hang on. They can't even like get their shit together. How are they going to be globally orchestrating a global conspiracy? Shit. There might, like, I don't know, man. There's some things you just wonder, like, why it happened like that. Anyway, instead of worrying about that, I'd much rather we have a system where we can like go back and forward in time. And then, because if you had a system like that, that would need to be solved to start off with. But if you could input data into the system, you could then, like every single thing that goes into the system, you could like predict the future. And if it was accurately predicting the future, then you could be like, oh, okay, so let's do this, and this changes the future for the better. Anyway, now back to COVID. Everyone panicked. And I relate that to these people who panicked. They panicked, they ran, people died as the outcome. The outcome for the COVID cases, it appears that in China there's lots of cases emerging. I don't know the statistics, if they're elderly, if they're smokers. Apparently people, there's less people smoking here in South Australia, like not many people at all. But I'm pretty sure a lot of people smoke in China. Just go research that if you want. Big tobacco, big pharma, all that sort of stuff, Whether or not that's a conspiracy or whether or not it's good marketing, up to you. Or whether or not it's ethical, it's another question. But we see here, this is pretty concerning. It's pretty new. Again, this stream is about nothing, so it's just everything. Crematoriums across China are straining to deal with the influx of bodies as the country battles new waves of COVID. Authorities said it's impossible to track. So again, I don't know what is going to happen, but if there's lots of people dying, again, I can't imagine the Chinese government having the same systems in place, because A, the sheer number of them, B, like the incompetence, C, lack of guidance. What else? What else can I say? Like their system is just knackered, and they're worried about, I guess, social upheaval and unrest. And they're like, oh, we've got this huge COVID virus to deal with, and this crisis. Well, that's convenient to lock them down. Again, that's call that conspiracy, but that's kind of what's happening. But when I read this, I can't tie that to this, because all I can tie that to this is basically what I'm reading. It just says China's crematoriums are packed, and this is coming out of China. So I'm hoping the people explaining this are actually not like Chinese government like reporting on themselves, because then it's like, well, that could be questionable. But yeah, that's really sad. Again, I thought like there was a large uptake of vaccinations over there, but I'm not sure what vaccinations they had, and I don't know, it's just a shitstorm. Imagine trying to program this into a computer to try and predict the future, Gonna be insane. But what do we got? What else we got? Those guys are pretty good though. I think Finbear, you mentioned them. They like traveled around China and stuff. I don't think they're there anymore, but they would know a lot more about this sort of stuff. But I've heard China's not looking good economically, and yeah. Also, relating to China, I guess, kind of related to this, supply lines. You know how China was kind of the factory of the world? So this is another book I was reading. Basically, the supply lines are they've been changed forever, and they're not going to change back. If countries were reliant on China, basically Australia, we pivoted, there's that word, we pivoted away from China, because they got shitty with Australia, because we just said, we just want to investigate where this virus came from. Did it come from the Wuhan, what was it? Biological Security Lab 4? Did it come from there because there was a leak in the air conditioning vents or something like that, and it was mishandled, which has been proven before from that particular biosecurity lab in that particular area? Or did it come from bat soup? We don't know. We just want to know. And then basically Australia got reamed and went into like some sort of trade war with China. And long story short, we changed our trading partners. Now, at the time, it was pretty harsh, because it was like mutually beneficial for both China and Australia to be like exchanging things with each other, like a liquidity pool. But then one side decided to pull their particular side. So then one side was left there holding all the chips. They're going, fuck, what do we do? And what we did here in Australia, you could make a case study. Someone said we could make a case study on that we used, we shipped it to other countries. We said, too bad, China. We're going to sell our shit to other countries, and we did, and that fixed our supply lines. So we had an issue for a long time. We couldn't get goods. We had goods that usually were going here to A. Now we just went, no, it's going to B. And so whether or not they'll ever switch back to that, I don't think they will, because the ones here now are pretty established well. It's still mutually beneficial for all the countries involved. So China has just sort of shot itself in the foot there. That being said, the supply lines are never going to be the same again. I think countries all over the world have realized now the intentions of China and their so-called trading with one another and theft of intellectual property, spying, espionage, cyber attacks, you name it. Just all sorts of shit that they've been pulling. They're not the Chinese people, the Chinese government, the communist regime, who their leader is now like pretty much dictator. He leans more towards Mao Zedong than the other guy who was in there before, after Mao Zedong. He was sort of trying to open up China and shit. But yeah, So computers cannot understand supply lines, let alone the future, let alone the future in a point in time. So it's going to be hard for computers to predict 2100 is going to be Armageddon, because as I said, there was data run through two separate computers, came out different because one computer was better than the other, and lo and behold, two different data sets. So like, it's not like calculators, but it's the same shit. It's different. I don't know how, but yeah, what a coincidence. Who would have thought, right? Wow. Shit. But again, I don't know. Like, is that? Yeah, but then if that was the case, then it does seem like there is. I don't know how to word it. Like, it's not just saying, "Oh, that's just a made up mad conspiracy theory." That's actually what took place, and when you look back on it, it's like, wow, that was pretty convenient for who? Like, who won that? Who benefited from that? Yeah, it's crazy. Like with the whole SBF, FTX reporting bullshit, that'll probably be gone and buried in like what, 3 to 4 months. We'll be talking about something else, basically, is what I'm thinking. So this, I just saw this and I found it interesting. So we've got the Jerusalem Post, so different part of the world again, New World Order, world order on verge of cliff. Again, this could be more in terms of the supply lines and the financials, because we're not seeing, like, you know, like, we're kind of seeing wars being fought in Ukraine and Russia, but is it going to be actual war, or is it going to be financial wars? I'm not hoping, I don't want either, but I'm hoping it's more financial wars, because that would probably save the planet a little bit more than, you know, some nuclear Armageddon, which I just hope doesn't happen. And I don't know what's going on with the Bank of Japan shutting down their. No, something weird happened there too. So the Intelligence Ministry, so that's the context of Monday, unveiled the country's first ever National Intelligence Estimate report on Monday. Okay, so what do we got? Great. Okay. Shit. More good news. So the world is at a transition point, analogous to being on the verge of a cliff, which, after a series of crises striking simultaneously, will reorder the planet's geopolitics. Oh, what was that other word? Was it ecopolar? Geoeconomics. That's the word. Geoeconomics. Will reorder the geoeconomics and geopolitics, is what I would have said. The place of technology and the economic order, and a variety of other disciplines, from health, energy, according to Israeli's government, basically. Which maybe they know what they're talking about. You know, they're trying to, like, not leak, but they're trying to explain some things here. Whether or not you want to believe it, whatever. The report was published by the Intelligence Ministry on the vein of a type of reports issued, in the vein of a type of reports issued in the US and other Western countries. So, I would say most likely that these countries, being Israel, would have more structured, like, systems than, say, like even China. I would say maybe more developed, more similar to the US. I guess it's like what I'm trying, like, similar to how, like, when Australia became, what was it? We inherited the English law system way back when, and when that happened, we basically didn't have to go through from zero all the way to where we are now. We basically, like, found, like, the cheat guide, and, like, we had guidance up until that point, so we didn't have to go through the insane trial and error of creating law. We're able to you know, have the benefit of inheriting that system. So that was kind of useful for a country developing, you know. So what I'm saying is probably similar. Israelis probably developed in a similar way to the US, and to me, the US is the strongest country in the world. Just like they're a part of like the Five Eyes intelligence, and all those countries are pretty like good, I would say, you know, relative to like communism. Just my point of view. Now, if you're a communist, you're offended by that, please leave. If anyone's watching this. Now, where was I? So the internet glitched on that. Right. Okay. So, I refreshed the page, and the world is likely on the verge of a cliff, struck by a variety of crises. Now, who would have thought, you know, with the whole COVID, with the whole Russian war in Ukraine, with the whole, I guess, the ongoing development of how China is going to deal with their COVID and the economy, led by the US, basically. And all the other countries in their stress testing that's currently being undertaken. Recommendations of a team of 8 experts wrote the report addressing critical areas related to national power resilience, including but not far beyond mere military. Yeah, so it's not just like who's got the biggest army, who's got the best weapons, who's what's it called? You know, whatever. Who has the most people with weapons? These recommendations focus on advancing key geopolitical alliances, serving as geopolitical and technological bridge between countries, preemptively filling potential gaps in national resilience. And some of the danger areas discussing were health, energy, and water. So maybe this is the sort of data that's being fed into the supercomputer. That's why the supercomputer is freaking out, saying, we're all going to die, we're going to run out of resources, and the water's going to be all dirty and the air's going to be all dirty because of this energy stuff, you know? Even though we should be, you know, even though with the energy stuff, in some countries, some areas, we can actually, for some, in the summer though, with batteries everywhere, you know, you can reduce some of the coal usage, you know, successfully. Anyway, who cares about that? So, what did the report say about Israel? The report also recognized major change, evolving from energy weak country to energy independent. Again, so when countries go through this, see the energy thing, right? If there was some like insane technology that was being withheld from the world for whatever reason, I should put I'll put this on. Hey, this will do. This time, I put this on. Will that show? So if there was, if there was, oh my god, where was I? Energy dependent. So if there was a technology that could, you know, give free energy basically with little cost to all the countries of the world, most likely the first use would probably be in weaponry. And then the thought would be, well, if, you know, if I'm in caveman time and all of a sudden someone's got a spear, this is my secret weapon because the spear can beat everyone. Now, if I go around handing out spears to everyone, then I'm not going to be superior anymore, because that's the, like, I guess that would be the mentality, possibly the mentality of the holder of the spear. So, again, this is kind of conspiracy. If there was energy devices being withheld from the planet, it would most likely it would most likely be due to the fact that it could probably be used as a weapon, and therefore you don't want to be like handing out spears to everyone, because then you might get speared. That's just my thoughts. Now I'm hoping that's the thoughts of, like, again, this is, I always harp on a type 0 civilization. I'm hoping that type 2, hopefully we can achieve type 1, at which point that energy systems will be released without worry that we're gonna, like, instead of being like, oh no, everyone's got spears, maybe we'll be like, oh yes, everyone has spears, sort of thing, you know, like. But until we can get to that point, yeah, I can't see energy system like that being developed and used and given out to free, basically. But yeah, my thoughts on that. Now, I'll leave the rest for anyone else to read. But I think it's interesting that at this point in time, lots of people in the financial markets, even in the crypto markets, are starting to notice something's not right. Excuse me. There could be issues coming ahead in the economy, and it's like, why? Supply lines? Why? COVID? Why? Maybe how the supply lines were set up? Why? You know, and it's like goes into the whole. Funnily enough, the whole dependence on China as the factory of the world, and then if the factory of the world gets sick, they shut everything down. It's like, well, there's only one factory. We didn't expand horizontally or whatever, you know, like the McDonald's story. Instead of like making one really big, we made one really giant McDonald's, and everyone everywhere had to go to that McDonald's. Instead of doing the smart business model and putting little McDonald's everywhere where it's busy. Anyway, who cares about that? What do we got? What's happening? Yeah. Have you seen open spit, yeah. Have you seen there's a video on YouTube, it's the funniest shit. And this guy makes it's like a crossbow, and it's made of wood. I'll try and pull it up, hang on. Where is it? What is it? I saw it's the funniest shit. Oh my god, don't say that. Climate lockdowns. Can you imagine? Yeah, this one. This is the crossbow. This is like ingenuity. Hang on. Bring it over here. Not climate lockdowns. I'm thinking, well, it depends. In the US though, energy issues basically everywhere, except in South Australia, because in summer anyway, and that's halfly a lot to do with Elon Musk and his giant, big ass batteries, and also the battery I have in my shed. But I need to get a backup diesel generator as well. What was that? I can imagine a car accident between two trucks. Yeah, but why would they be driving around with two fucking... Jeez. That would be... If I was driving trucks, man, and I had that payload, I would be like... wanting lots of insurance, and I would be wanting lots of pay for that one, for that load. Poorly maintained. Man, I've seen those cool things, like they float them on the water or some shit, like little nuclear power stations. I mean, that seems pretty cool. I mean, again, there could be issues. Anyway, here, this is the funniest thing, man. Guys. Not that. Now, I'm pretty sure these things, there's no legislation against them. Look. Look at this, look at this. There's something satisfying about that. I don't know what that is. I kind of want one of them. Not to hurt anyone, it's just because look how fun that looks. Oh, is it? Oh, hang on. Have I been streaming with no audio the whole time? Test. Oh, nah, okay. Test. Hang on.
Easy, you simply take the force and power. and it turns this wheel, this
Look at this thing, man.
pushing the rod, and the rod actually pushes back the string until the trigger sear here engages, and then when it keeps moving, it actually
This is the funniest thing I've seen for a long time.
and then the cycle repeats itself. And as you see, we have this rubber-powered force feed magazine that holds up to 32 of these inexpensive crossbow bolts. What I love about this is that it
Oh, okay. Phew. No, I thought so. I think it was the sound for the this dude.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about.
That looks fun. That looks so fun.
Empty.
Yeah, he's got all different ones. Like
Loading is really easy.
he's got his drill.
Bolts and let them
He's like
drop
custom
into the magazine.
made.
But also imagine using this drill, which has 100 Newton meters.
Oh, here we go.
No, as you can see in the
This is the intermission.
the band's actually pushing back the second question. It's look, this is not uncomfortable to hold. It actually
Let's see his final product, eh?
perfect. This means that rubber loses power when it cools down.
Hope this guy's the pulse chain developer, man.
Cocked back.
Come up with some crazy shit.
Otherwise you lose power quickly. But this is actually not happening here because the shot falls right afterwards. So this is an ideally suitable
Good old
area for
Makitas.
storing the energy. And actually that is an issue like a machine gun. Heck, it does. It really does.
Have him like mounted on a car. He's driving around. But that's just decoration. You're hunting with that. That'd be insane. Anyway. Where was I? Yeah, I don't know why. I just remember that. I'm like, oh my god, that was the funniest shit. Yeah, where was I? Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Israelis have like more advanced weaponry than that as well, by the way. I'm just pretty sure. That was more the North Korea weaponry department, that crossbow. Now, what's this? Surrender to a drone. Yeah, this was weird, man. So this is going back to like the geopolitics and the what's it called? Surrender to a drone. I don't know what the context is here, but it says yeah, but they didn't have the drill though. They didn't have the Makita drill, you know. But I guess the could they have designed something maybe like a hand crank? I don't know. Oh, see, that makes me want to go research the old ancient weapons. Anyway. See, I want a computer system that I can put in data and go, what and how was the first weapons designed? That would be pretty interesting. But as I said before, you would need to know every single force in the entire world, and you need to know every single, even things that are unknown to us, and would have to know every single thing in the entire universe. So that might be a bit of a problem to be able to forecast forwards and backwards with a computer system, I think. Now, see, it's developing into drone wars. They're literally testing new weapons in Ukraine. Well, not like all of them, but I'm pretty sure they're testing new systems. And I think, who was it? I think it was Raytheon. They came out and said, yeah, we're watching all the weapons be deployed, and we can like see in real time what's actually going on. And so they were saying that, like, I don't know what they were saying. They were saying their weapons are being used, and they can actually see in real time as they're being used. So I'm like, hang on, what do you mean? And it's like, how are you involved in this war? It's crazy. So then I no doubt would imagine the Russians are using their they use their launching the hypersonics and things like that, and then we're seeing like the drone war being rolled out. It's just next level. And imagine in the future what the wars might look like. It's like Terminator sort of stuff. It's crazy. Let's have a look. Ooh. Yeah, didn't they have like their king, like their kings and shit? They had to be like on the battlefield with them. You know, like not Braveheart, but maybe like Braveheart. He's like up and down with the horse, and he's like they had to be. That's what I heard, that they had to be like, you know, with their soldiers, not like back somewhere else, like ordering all these like, you know, soldiers to die on their behalf. They were like up in the front, like leading the charge and shit. Imagine having politicians today, like, so instead of getting together in their little UN conventions or World Economic Forums and their little business like meetings and stuff like that, they're actually out in their armor and shit up on the front line. They're like, maybe let's you know, consider this whole war thing if like they're the ones actually charging into each other. It's crazy. You know, like, would you see what's his name? You know, like the Ukrainian, the Russian, like leaders on horseback charging into each other. I don't think you would, especially when you saw what's his face behind that table. It's like 20 football fields long. He's just sitting. He's like, I don't want to get COVID. Anyway, it wasn't quite 20 football fields long, but I think you know what I'm saying. But yeah, so it looks like they're tweaking how their weapon systems work. It's insane. Now, this is not what this article is saying. This article is saying, what's it saying? Drones being deployed across Ukraine to kill the enemy, spy its formations, guide their bombs and the targets. But this month, well, it's kind of saying they're using it for this. It wasn't previously used by that, and you know. Remember that? Where's that footage? Hang on. Where he's like falling off the push bike. Oh, they probably like scrubbed it from the internet. There's Joe. Oh, I want to type this in the internet. Joe Biden. Biden. Is it falling? I swear, man, some of that stuff just looks staged. Like, it's like, how do we get people more engaged? Let's just put like some puppet in and make him like the worst, appear to be the worst person in the world, and then we'll put it on mainstream media and everyone will go nuts. And we'll just cause mass division between we'll cause mass division between everyone, and it'll work like a charm. We'll get everyone to vote more, and then we'll keep our jobs. That's what it seems like at times, but I mean, that sounds like Conspiracy Plus, but... What do we got? Who was... Imagine this guy on horseback. Charge! He's got like the automatic spear guns mounted on his horse. He falls face first into the shit. I can't believe that's real, man. I feel bad, like, giving that a thumbs up. That was just... There's like an old guy on a bike and he falls off. That's just not... It's not good, man. Like, how is that running the... That goes to show you that is not running the country. That is just like a figurehead. Anyway. Who was the guy that invented Greek fire? Archimedes, I don't know, but we had a bunch of crazy war machines and weapons. Yeah. What were these things they launched? Bloody... Reminds me of the Age of Empires computer game. You know what are they called? Like catapults, but like these old school ones. They launched like big ass rocks and shit. They were like inventing physics. I didn't even know well, actually, I don't know if they knew mathematics and stuff. They probably did. To like build all that, to engineer all that stuff. Can't remember what they were called. They were like huge though, not like the ones that threw rocks. Big giant ones, like equivalent of artillery. Oh, some cool stuff. But yeah, that's about it, man. That's all I got. Like, crypto is just... where is it? Crypto is... Pain is only bearable because we know it will end, not if we deny it exists. So I'm not denying that I'm not in pain, but I know it's going to end. The pain. Probably yes. Oh my god, let's look that up. Hang on. Trebuchets. Trebuchets. You know what I find interesting? I find interesting the ancient, like the pyramids, right? How did they build the pyramids? And there's like some pretty interesting, like what's it called? Like ancient Indian text, man. It reads like a I don't know, sci-fi novel or some shit. Yeah, these things are monsters, man. I can't even build one of these things today. They're like having water. Well, I can't build a plane either, but like now I think about it, I can't build shit today.
Leah likes that you.
Oh my god, how many ads?
Process helps keep her clan moving.
I don't care about ads.
In the 12th century, a new cattle fields.
Yeah, these things.
This is a reconstruction. They have to fill the counterweight box with stones.
Can you imagine back in the day telling everyone you can't have your own trebuchet? You'd be like, hang on, there's an invading force. Why the fuck can't I have a trebuchet? I'm pretty sure they weren't using it on themselves, so that's probably, you know, part of it. Man, who built this thing? That's savage. Look at that. You're cruising along on your horseback, and that thing hits you in the face. Oh, maybe it was used more for siege then, to break down. Yeah, it's probably, yeah, anyway. You'd have to be pretty unlucky to get hit. Oh, have enough of them.
Goes straight into the wooden palisade.
Those things are savage. Yeah. You're like, what are you building? Oh, it's a trebuchet? Like, there's no legislation against building a trebuchet. What are you talking about? In your backyard. You have a trebuchet. 8 trebuchets. And then you have like a mounted to the trebuchet. You have the automatic crossbow. All completely legal. Oh. Yeah, no, that is about the stream I've come to. Ancient Aliens. I don't mind that series, but it's a bit, yeah. You have to really pay attention, and it's like, is it? Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I just want time travel. Seriously, how hard is time travel? How hard is it to like figure out how to teleport and time travel, and infinite energy and life extension, and be able to like just go anywhere you want? Yeah, that would be kind of cool. Oh, and also, yeah, also pulse chain and that, you know, that'd be cool as well. But I don't know, man. Like, if the markets keep going the way they're going, man, we don't have any snow over here. Well, we've got, not in South Australia, but we've got snow in other areas. But yeah, that'd be so cool. I remember one time it hailed real bad. So like it didn't rain. It was like chunks of like maybe they weren't that big. They're pretty chunky though, and like the whole street was filled with like, it looked like snow. It wasn't, but that was really cool. Still remember that to this day. I would call them trebuchets. I'd be like, nah, it's just a snowball launcher. What are you talking about? What, we can't throw snowballs now? God. Damn government. Oh. What else? New quantum frontier. What do we got? Quantum power technology. Ooh, that sounds good. But see, that's March. It's old. Oldish. No, what was I saying? Hang on. I was saying, so with the economy, right? I was thinking this. So if imagine if it's being like somewhere, if it's being timed to like coincide with the fluctuations of the geo-economic cycle, to sound fancy, it's gonna be fucked. Because think about it, if we got a like bull cycle, what, 2024? I think we're talking about. You know, usually during election years, they like to have the economy go up. This year was a bit different though, because the Fed was thinking about raising rates into it, and it was very like off-putting for the Biden administration. That's why they had to cover up their bullshit with the selling of the strategic oil reserves. That's why in December 22nd, I've heard prices are going to skyrocket for the US, probably for the rest of the world. Depending on how reliant they are with those supply chains, particular supply chains, because supply chains are wrecked. Mind you, the supply chains I think are being fixed because people are starting to figure out that the reliance on the world factory of the world is not a good thing, especially with the whole Wu flu that came along and wrecked everyone. What was I saying? Yeah, so if the way the economy is looking, I've heard, I think June 2023 might be a time where you're looking at some sort of recovery. At the earliest, it might even be out to like January, February, March, April. April or March at the latest, the economy starts to recover. So whether that's got anything to do with the cryptocurrency markets, I'm not sure. Whether and what's going to happen before that, it could get pretty bad, because I keep hearing things about this tether and I don't know how true it is. If it's like what's it called, where is it? It was Bloomberg too, and so they're starting to go, hang on, FTX, what's next? Oh, hang on, Tether. When Tether goes, it's going to be a whole trebuchet of trouble for the cryptocurrency space. Like, it's not going to be good, because half this stuff is going to disappear. Like, who's talking about Terra or Luna anymore, you know, or Celsius, or it's all FTX, and that's starting to wane out because I haven't been looking at that as much. Now it's more like rates are rising, and now it's Christmas, so you know nothing's happening. Yeah, it's just quiet. So I'll kill off the stream probably with a slow, boring SPAs. So I've got SPAs, right? Everyone's been, I don't know if people have printed it off like I did, but SPAs Pandemic, SPAs Pandemic, this textbook is called. You can find it online. It's the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, a futuristic scenario for public health risk communications. I'm tempted to read it with my Alex Jones mask. This is the funniest shit. I got this for free. I'm trying to figure out the perfect time to use it. I think it was better before. Basically, this one is called Chapter 13, Lovers and Haters. Early on in the Corovax vaccination campaign, the anti-vaccination group began emerging on social media platforms. These groups initially came from 4 primary sources. Muslim groups across the country who opposed the vaccine on the basis that the original formulation was used to treat pigs. African Americans who refused vaccination based on continued fear of government experimentations on African American populations. Alternative medicine proponents who had also been active in campaigning against Calicavir, and anti-vaccination activists who were galvanized by the anti-vaccination sentiment associated with the nationwide measles outbreak in 2015 in this scenario. So we got 4 groups there, and the lovers and haters chapter, you know. So this is what they foresee happening, with the exception of this last group. None of the anti-vaccination movements were cohesively organized initially. It sounds like government, existing primarily in small isolated pockets across the country. The general anti-vaccination proponents, however, existed as a core national group long before the SPARS pandemic. So they already existed, you know. This all sort of brought the crazy loonbirds together, I guess you could say, in one way or another. Following the 2015 measles outbreak in the US or United States, this group united online. So all of them hooking up through type 1 communication tool, which is the internet. By 2016, they had created several primary Facebook groups and numerous Twitter accounts, and began using hashtags like no vaccines for me, hashtag vaccines kill. The anti-vaccination movement migrated to ZapQ upon its emergence in 2022. So in this particular, it's funny. The trebuchets. In this particular sparse textbook, there was a new social media that appeared. So they had like Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. I haven't seen that yet, but arguably, I don't know, the whole Elon Musk thing. I'm not sure. It's like a bit conspiratorial there, but yeah. It says ZapQ, upon its emergence in 2022, due to its ability and combined feeds from multiple platforms. Yes, it is getting late. Upon its multiple platforms. Shit, what is the time? Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It's it's a very interesting topic, ancient aliens and all that, because like you could just be some it literally could be some loon bird with small bits of accuracy in there, and the rest is just like out there, you know. Who knows? Now, due to its ability and combined feeds from across multiple platforms, so everyone's sort of getting along, including real-time text, picture, video messages from members, as well as selected traditional media posts, such as videos, text, or streaming news feeds on a single interface that could be used on IoT and other mobile platforms. Additionally, through their ability to control group membership, these groups ensured that they would not be exposed to pro-vaccine propaganda from pharmaceutical companies. Shit. So that's like the echo chamber. Like they were literally like creating their own reality, which we can probably see on Twitter. Like if you join a particular like I don't know, whatever, you generally get fed this similar sort of stuff, and you sort of develop this echo chamber, and you think you're getting your message out to the world, but really it's not that big of a reach. They called it, the propaganda from pharmaceutical companies, the federal government, or public health or medical authorities. By 2026, many core members of the anti-vaccine movement obtained their national news almost exclusively from the Yeah, so yeah. So then you could say that people, instead of they lost faith in all of the mainstream media. They then deemed the mainstream, all of the mainstream media, they then deemed all of it like a conspiracy. And so they came up with their own conspiracy, and that turned into the news. It's like, hang on. Like, what about when they play the weather? Is that fake too? What about when they actually just tell you what happened? That's like, is that fake too? Or is that... But then some things, you see these like, the same thing being said over and over again, or the same messaging. That kind of is a bit weird, but anyway. When the Corovax distribution began, the anti-vaccination movement mobilized their resources, citing select quotes from the CDC, NIH, and other government agencies. Where is it? And other government agencies. Anti-vaccine proponents began spreading the message that Corovax was inadequately tested and had unknown long-term side effects. Wow, where have I seen this before? And that natural immunity resulting from contracting the disease was a more effective means of conferring protection. Now, I don't know where I would have heard this before in real life unfold. Many of these messages also contain suggestions, once again drawing on carefully selected and edited quotes from the CDC, NIH, and other government officials regarding how to manage sparse symptoms. The anti-vaccination movement, ubiquity, motivation, and Motivation to prevent vaccine inquiry. The anti-vaccination movement motivation to prevent vaccine injury and social media expertise meant that numerous Americans heard the message. National polls conducted in mid-August 2026, for example, showed that 68% of US citizens had not seen a post or read a comment from someone expressing anti-Covax sentiments. And then it breaks it down into further groups here, basically saying Covax is unclean, not for us, hashtag Muslims, hashtag no vax. And it has an example, it might not show up on the screen, but it's actually got tweets that might appear. Like in this example, it might have appeared in the real world. Concerning about Covax among American Muslims who were also common, in particular Muslim immigrants to the United States. These concerns stemmed from early traditional media reports on Covax that explained how the vaccine was derived from the GMI vaccine used to treat cows and pigs in Southeast Asia. After reading and viewing these reports, several local Muslim leaders mistakenly conflated the origin of the virus with the origin of the vaccine, and concluded the vaccine itself was unclean. So then it's just a shit show. And as such, they viewed receiving the vaccine as a violation of their faith. By posting their conclusion on social media, their views quickly spread beyond local communities, and rumors began among Muslims across the country that the vaccine was forbidden. When federal public health officials became aware of the opposition from Muslim communities, they organized a press conference hosted by HHS security Najul to address these misinterpretations. In this press conference, Secretary Najul explained that Covax was designed specifically for humans and not for pigs. She invited, in this article, Imam Omar Khalifia, a prominent imam in the Washington DC area in this book, to speak at the press conference, and he reiterated the Secretary's points. He also called for Muslims to embrace the SPARS vaccination, assuming that this press conference, which was widely publicized and shared, would effectively assuage the concerns of American Muslims. The US government continued with its existing vaccination promotional campaign, in contrast to most Christian religions. However, the Muslim faith is not at all centralized, and the statements of an imam from Washington DC hold little validity for many local Muslim communities. The influence of local imams continued to perpetuate anti-Covax sentiments among many local Muslim communities well into the national vaccination campaign. Consequently, vaccination rates among Muslims generally lag behind those of other demographic groups in the United States. Now, that's pretty interesting because it probably happened in the real world. So despite the failure of these federal initiatives, some local public health departments were able to, pausing there, mind you, though, there is some data out there that's starting to crop up after the mass vaccination program. So yeah, take that for what it is. Despite the failure of these federal initiatives, some local public health departments were able to effectively address concerns of local Muslim populations. In King County, Washington, for example, local public health officials became aware of the concerns of the local Somali Muslim population in early August. Acknowledging the authority held by local imams, these officials held community meetings with local Somali leaders to engage the local community and posted culturally relevant information on a website specifically designed for their Somali Muslim constituents. By enlisting the support of local Muslim leadership, these efforts ultimately led to high levels of Covax acceptance among Somali Muslims in King County. Not all local or state public health departments, however, took this approach. Some were unaware of the concerns of this particular subpopulation, and others felt that resources should be more appropriately allocated elsewhere. The fact that websites like the one posted by the Seattle King County Public Health were publicly available, however, meant that Muslim populations in other areas of the country had less access to them. In Denton, Ohio, for example, local Senegalese Muslim immigrants began sharing the link to the King County webpage. This in turn helped increase Muslim acceptance of Corovax in this area, although it also diminished their confidence and trust in local public health officials who had not conducted target outreach to their community. Again, just, yeah. Communication breakdown. Now, the concerns of African Americans were very different. Distrust of new treatment, including vaccines, was not a new phenomenon among African American communities. The legacy of the Tuskegee syphilis experiments and the fact that during the 2004 Ebola outbreak, experimental therapeutics were not made available to the Thomas E. Duncan, a libertarian traveler. A Liberian traveler who had died of Ebola in Dallas, Texas, nor to many West African communities struck by Ebola, meant that many African Americans, particularly those living in communities consuming media through local traditional media platforms, feared the possibility of being subjected to scientific experimentation. These fears worsened during healthcare providers' analysis of EHRs in Los Angeles County, which, I don't know why I didn't print this double-sided, which identified many African American communities, as well as other minority populations, as lacking access to primary care. In some areas, aggressive public health vaccination campaigns were locally interpreted as direct examples of experimentation, repurposing hashtags like Black Lives Matter, hashtag Black Lives Matter. Some African Americans in these communities began to actively campaign against Corovax. Now, through August 2026, 2026? Okay. Through August 2026, anti-vaccinators, Muslim and African Americans, remain largely isolated from one another. But by September, however, continued anger over the EHR use and growing concern over Corovax side effects spurred these once disparate groups to join forces with the alternate medicine proponents still campaigning against Calicovir. Uniting their efforts, these groups began sharing common anti-vaccine messages through a variety of social media channels, including Facebook, Tumblr, Snapchat, YouTube, and ZapQ forums. So ZapQ being the new platform that doesn't exist in the real world. It does in this example. As well as local radio announcement. Some anti-vaccine groups also began crowdsourcing information about vaccine distribution sites to stage local anti-vaccination protests. Excuse me. I'm getting tired. We'll have to wrap this one up soon. These protests, along with anti-vaccine messages shared by the supergroup, subsequently received wide national coverage through traditional media outlets, including local and national television news channels. While the US government attempted to respond to claims raised by anti-vaccination supergroup, their messages did not reach many members of the anti-vaccination groups because they had already tailored their social media and news feeds to reflect only opinions of those with whom they agreed. So that could be a problem if you're not listening to both sides. Both ways. On the other hand, the government messages were effective among segments of the general US population who had not limited their news feeds, and more importantly, they served to galvanize a burgeoning pro-vaccination campaign status. Okay, so just as I read that, understanding that this study was conducted, they needed to prepare for this potential pushback. So what did they do? They had a mass campaign, and I'm pretty sure we all felt it. We all saw it, rightly or wrongly so. That's what happened. So that's why I read this. Now, during the measles outbreak of 2015, pro-vaccination groups like Mothers Against Vaccine Waivers emerged across the United States. With a few exceptions, these groups all lost momentum by 2018. Furthermore, activity among the group that remained active was limited to a few underused social media sites and semi-popular hashtags such as GetVax, hashtag GetVax, hashtag Vaccines Work, hashtag Vaccinate, With the advent of Covovax, the pro-vaccination movement found renewed purpose. By the time Covovax distribution began in early July, that's right, let's just say a different time frame, 2026, excuse me, it was clear that not only did SPARS infect children more frequently and severely, but even mild cases of the disease often gave rise to secondary bacterial pneumonia in children. So bacterial pneumonia is different from SPARS, like even in this example, which I'm pretty sure people know, but anyway. So these infections often occur between 4 and 6 months after initial infection with SPARS, resulting in greater rates of pediatric morbidity and mortality from the disease. Now, let's have a look. And then this is a tweet image. How can people take this vaccine? Exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point, question mark. So unsafe. Hashtag Covovax. Hashtag no vax. Hashtag not my kids. Hashtags vaccines kill. And this is like, I guess what's I guess you would say in this study would be pushback. So you would need to eliminate this sort of pushback. And so I'm not sure how, if an example of a Twitter image, there's like a Twitter image and they're saying this is the pushback you would get. So how would you want to eliminate, censor, or reduce that message from being spread? Anyway, moving on. Concern about SPARS was quite high among many partners of young children, and when anti-vaccination campaigns began threatening vaccine uptake, some of these parents began to mobilize. Parents who were once active in the pro-vaccination campaigns of 2015 began repurposing communication channels developed at that time. So they're even they're studying in this particular, I guess, textbook, they're actually studying certain groups of people, and they understand that how these groups commingle. It's kind of Big Brother-ish. Now, repurposing communication channels developed at that time included Facebook pages, Twitter accounts. New local groups also began to organize on ZapU, Snapchat, and other social media outlets. Ultimately, by November 2026, many of these groups coalesced and to form a semi-cohesive national group that attempted to counter the efforts of the super anti-vaccination group. So they're basically saying that one group formed, another group formed to be against that particular group. Which, and that, need to censor certain people off Twitter to be successful. Anyway, so HHS, including the CDC and FDA and other government agencies at the federal, state, and local levels, also renewed messaging efforts from support of the Covovax. The common message developed about Covovax, originally used in early June, was re-released, and 2 additional messages were developed and distributed by mid-October, just before the vaccine was made available to the entire US population. Paul Framer, that's a funny last name in this textbook, the renowned global health expert, the Framer, Mr. Frame, anyway, renowned global health expert, provided the dialogue for the first of these, wherein he lauded the safety and efficiency of Covovax and understood the dangers of SPARS. His only regret, he said, was that the vaccine could not yet be made available to everyone on the planet. In the second message, former President Bennett redeemed herself by televising her vaccination, as well as the vaccination of 2 of her granddaughters. So it became a political movement. So, yeah, we all saw what happened. Now, these, for rightly or for wrongly so, these pro-vaccination efforts were largely successful, and vaccination rates in many areas of the country began to climb through December 26. The population with the highest vaccination rates in the United States, however, did not participate in this pro-vaccination rhetoric. Filipino Americans and Filipino immigrants living in the United States, the groups most closely associated with SPARS in the news media, and at least in some circles, the group often blamed for the spread of SPARS. Okay, yes, Anyway, had near perfect vaccination rates. There you go. Though Filipinos across the United States demonstrated great solidarity throughout the SPARS pandemic, their potential as a source of pro-vaccination rhetoric remained largely untapped. So they were scared shitless as well. And they got high vaccination rates, but then people thought they somehow were spreading it. Yeah. So, the communication dilemma. Addressing multiple independent MCM concerns simultaneously, meeting the information needs of citizens who come from diverse cultural, social, and demographic backgrounds and may have varying degrees of trust in health authorities. Oh my god, authorities. Tongue's like half asleep. I can't breathe as well. Running out of air. Food for thought. Number 1. What are the respective roles and responsibilities of local, state, and federal health authorities and during an MCM campaign to understand different audiences, segments, and to develop messages that address their concerns? 2. What communication strategies might be effective for breaking into and engaging with otherwise self-isolating groups who oppose a recommended MCM like Crovax and might be placing themselves and others at risk during the outbreak? MCM, I forgot what MCM means. I have to look that up. What kinds of pre-crisis partnerships and alliances with intermediary groups and/or opinion leaders might have helped to reduce the likelihood and mitigate the impact of anti-Crovax sentiments among specific minority groups? There we have it, people. So, what they thought, I don't even want to say it. So, hang on, this will do. It's not me saying it. It's not me saying this. Alright, so what they thought. Is this even showing? Yeah, it does. It picks up. Alright, so. Alright, so what they thought was, alright. What they thought was that if they just get the messaging down pat and they, make sure everyone is covered and everyone's got the jab, they'll beat this coronavirus. But what they didn't realize was what actually happened in the real world. And how come all of a sudden everyone stopped mandating and stopped making everything mandatory? Because they realized, they realized the truth about it all. That people tried to warn you about. But no one cared. Because they had such an in-depth understanding of what they're doing and the operation they were undertaking. When I say operation, I mean, the study they had done to make sure they got adequate coverage for every aspect of life, every planet on the country, every country on the planet. That's what I think happened. And it worked. It bloody worked. It worked really well. Although now we look at it and we're like, how come? How come? Why? Why did it all happen? I'm going to be salty on this for the rest of my life. I'm not going to stop asking questions. And I still think I was right. Even though, especially as I'm seeing employers decide to backstep from their forced mandates, which barely lasted 1 year, which allowed employees to function without any vaccination prior to the mandate. Its logic to this day has me very confused. Very confused. It should have never been mandatory. It should have never been political. It should have never been a reason to lay people off, to stop people from functioning in the workforce. We saw, what did we see? Canadian truckers, for example, had an extremely hard time during this phase. And what did that do to the supply lines? And what did it do to the Supply chain. I can go on and on. I won't. I'll wrap this one up. Thank you everyone for staying in and watching my trebuchets. My information being trebucheted across the internet. Hopefully it hit something. It hit something else, that hit something else, that hit something else. That triggers the new hexagon wave of information that's going to blow minds. Because as I said, pain is only bearable if we know it will end, but if we deny it exists. And I'm not denying I'm in pain. Wait, did I say that right? Pain is only bearable if we know it will end. Oh my god, will this bear market end? Why? Yeah, all good. I'm signing out. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you if you caught any of the replay. But yeah, all I can say is keep asking questions, you know, and know that the pain will end eventually. All right, signing out.